Mercedes AMG PETRONAS driver Michael Schumacher was the best starter in F1 in 2011, gaining a total of 40 positions. Now he explains the secrets of making a lightning start.
Well, the parade lap is obviously reasonably intense in terms of how busy you are, what you have to do. And it starts with engine gets fired on, you go for a clutch bite point check, you then do a physical start in order to see what is your grip level, everything works well, and you be ready. After this one you have a contradiction because you need to keep the engine temperature low, fuel consumption low, but at the same time you have to work your tires to warm them up, and you have to keep your brakes hot. Because I mean the worst you can have is cold brakes, first braking, equally tires. So that's a workout that is difficult, but to be managed by us. You have intensive communication with a team that informs you about your state of brake temperature, tire pressures, and whatever information that is vital. So in this respect, you go for most of the lap on an easy way, just keeping your brakes and tires warm. For the last little bit, before you go to the grid, that's the most intense, because then you have to do your burnouts. And that means warming up your rear tire to be ready for the start, to have the tires in the optimum temperature window to have most grip available. Arriving physically on the line, you have one further action to do, and that is to make another bite point check. Then you wait for the right moment, engage your first gear, and then just focus on the lights. Wait and be ready, focus around what's going on, and let the right moment go, and then action starts.
The aim is to get a good start to the race and into the new season. At Melbourne 2012, the long winter will finally be over.
A world first at the Barcelona Grand Prix circuit. Michael Schumacher and Nico Rosberg drive two Mercedes-Benz SL63 AMGs on exhibit for the first time to the presentation of the new Mercedes F1 W03.
It's quite different. 80% of the parts are new. The whole car is lighter. We have more room for balance weight. We have a longer wheelbase, and I think we are aerodynamically stronger.
Michael Schumacher drove first on the official test day in Barcelona after Nico Rosberg had completed the first laps of the rollout last week at Silverstone. The F1 W03 is a completely new car for the 2012 Formula One season. It's more compact and efficient than its predecessor, with the aim of enabling the team to take a step forward in competitiveness.
Well, aerodynamic has been the weak spot for our last two current cars, and that is where we mostly focused. And well, it was a hard winter for all the guys in many areas, mainly focused on aero, and we'll hope that it pays out.
The new Silver Arrows has a long wheelbase, optimized weight distribution, and comprises 4,500 parts.
The first drive of my new car was good. Everything was working as planned, felt very compact, agile, nice to drive, good feeling, so a good positive start.
The development of the F1 W03 began 9 months ago in May 2011. The mandatory FIA crash tests were successfully completed by the end of the first week of January.
We must move forward. We must, we've had 2 seasons of fourth in the World Championship, and that's not good enough. So we must move forward. My dream would be for Michael to win again and for Nico to win his first race. So that's our ambition, that's our objective.
The team now has a total of 8 days of testing ahead in Barcelona, which will be shared equally between Michael and Nico. The start lights will go out for the opening race of the 2012 Formula One World Championship in Melbourne, Australia on the 18th of March.
The regulations have been changed to reduce the effect of exhausts, and where you put the exhaust is now controlled. So the usage of the exhaust to enhance the underbody flow is much reduced, and the exhaust will still have an effect, but it's much reduced. there's been a move to lower the front of the nose, which has caused these step noses, which are very prevalent. And that's been done to reduce the height of the impact if one car hits another. So I think it's a good objective. We've got to look at perhaps improving the aesthetics for the future. And a much tighter control on the engine mapping you can have to reduce the efficiency of the exhaust mode. So those are the major changes that we're facing this year. Well, it was a fascinating area, the use of exhaust energy, and as always, the cars the exhausts have been there. They have to have been there for forever. So we just didn't appreciate the benefits that could come from it, and placing the exhaust in a really strategic and beneficial place. But more importantly, then understanding how we could use the engine to provide a constant thrust of the exhaust. So, even when we were off the throttle, we were providing thrust to the exhaust. So there was no power being generated by the engine, but we were getting the exhaust gas passing through. So, as always in Formula One, we grab hold of a concept and we exploit it to beyond its maximum. And it was interesting and opened up a whole new area of understanding we had to have, both aerodynamic and engine. And as one team, as Mercedes, we had that benefit of being an engine manufacturer and designer and a chassis manufacturer and designer, so that enabled us to bring both those strengths together to get the most from it. Well, we're still getting a bit of performance from the exhaust with the new car. Nothing like was achieved with the last year's regulations and last year's concept. But there's once you learn something, once you discover something, you don't uninvent it. So all of the engineers, all of the designers in Formula One have been looking at how they can still retain some of the performance, but it's far, far reduced to what we had last year. And I think most people in designing their new cars would be quite happy if they were able to achieve the overall performance that they achieved last year. We were testing in Ereth with the 2011 car, and it looked to be the most consistent and fastest car there in 2011 specs. All the new 2012 cars were a bit behind that. So I think anyone who's doing their new 2012 car is able to get close to what they achieved in 2011 is doing a very good job. Well, the high chassis and high noses evolved to get the air under the car and to improve the flow in what we call the keel area and out into the side pods and under the car. So, we don't want to put the chassis higher because, of course, it's weight up high. There's no advantage to that, but we put it up high for aerodynamic reasons. So when the nose was brought down low, we wanted to try and see how we could retain some of the advantage that we had with the high chassis. And that's why you've seen these step noses, because the height of the nose is constrained up to a certain point, and the chassis is constrained after that, and the dimensions are different. This extra height for the chassis was retained because there were a few teams who said maybe we want to carry on with our 2011 chassis, and because we want to carry on with our 2011 chassis, we want to be able to match the new nose up to it. So the FIA agreed, at least for now, to let that pass. But I think I doubt, quite frankly, whether there's going to be many people who've carried over their chassis from last year. So I think it may be a detail that will improve in the future.
Ja, es ist komplett neu, es sind 80% der Teile neu. Also wir haben das dem Reglement entsprechend eigentlich ziemlich umfangreich neu gemacht. Wir haben einen längeren Radstand, wir haben gelernt vom letzten Jahr, wir sind insgesamt leichter, haben also mehr Masse, um zu balancieren. Und ich glaube, insgesamt ist uns ein ganz gutes Design gelungen. Ja, man muss ganz klar Form follows Function, die Funktion steht im Vordergrund. Und ich denke aber trotzdem, dass man sich sehr schnell daran gewöhnen wird. Und nicht, weil wir sind, sondern wir alle versuchen sicherlich einen sehr ästhetischen Blick auch zu haben und das kritisch anzugucken. Ich denke, in unserem Falle sieht es ganz gut aus. It's quite different. 80% of the parts are new. The whole car is lighter. We have more room for balance weight. We have a longer wheelbase, and I think we are aerodynamically stronger. Well, you have no choice. Form follows function, and we developed that with our team in the wind tunnel on the computers, of course, and we think we found quite good and also quite a nice looking solution.
Regeländerungen, was die Überholsituation angeht, den Seitenwechsel angeht, sind insofern verändert, dass sie präzisiert worden sind. Es war vorher schon klar, dass man nur einmal die Seite wechseln darf und eigentlich dann auch nicht wieder auf seine Linie zurückkehren darf. Das ist insofern präzisiert worden, dass man praktisch eine Autobreite Platz lassen sollte, im Falle wie das zwar bei mir und Luis in Monza der Fall war. Da war es sicherlich haarscharf an der Grenze, aber genau dafür ist die Regel geschrieben worden, dass man die Grenze irgendwo auch darstellt in schriftlicher Form. Die neuen Regeln in diesem Jahr sind die, dass wir den Auspuff verändert haben, dass man nicht mehr die Auspuffgase, sowohl wenn man vom Gas geht, als dass, wenn man natürlich auch aufs Gas geht, in der Stärke nutzen kann, um seine Aerodynamik zu verbessern. Das ist sehr stark eingeschränkt worden. Deswegen werden die Autos wahrscheinlich auch etwas langsamer sein, wie im letzten Jahr, zumindest am Anfang. Und dann kennen wir ja die Geschichte der Ingenieure, die sehr fleißig arbeiten, um das natürlich alles wieder anders darzustellen und zu verbessern. Das war die große Herausforderung, so viel wie möglich Abtrieb zu finden, auch ohne diese Innovation. Die neue Nasenversion ist natürlich aufgrund einer Regeländerung durch die FIA, die aus Sicherheitsgründen getroffen wurde. Und die meisten Teams haben sich dann eben für den netten Höcker entschieden. Es gibt ein Team, McLaren, die es anders gemacht haben. Ich sage immer, es gibt viele Wege nach Rom. Lass mal rausfinden, welcher der schnellere ist. Gut. Well, aerodynamic has been the weak spot for our last two current cars, and that is where we mostly focused. And well, it was a hard winter for all the guys in many areas, mainly focused on aero, and we'll hope that it pays out. Well, there are quite a few new rule changes. One is obviously the reason that we have the different shape on the nose, because it is an FIA regulation that McLaren has found a different way of interpreting this, and I keep saying there's many ways to Rome. Then you have obviously the rule changes for driver behavior on track, and it's not really a rule change, it's just a clarification and a precision rule for everybody to understand what exactly you're allowed to do and not to do, and then for the FIA to take action in case somebody sort of pushes the borderline too far.
Also die Nase sieht so aus, wie es ist, wegen dem neuen technischen Reglement. Es besagt, dass die Nase maximal 55 cm hoch sein kann vorne. Dann weiter hinten ist es wieder erlaubt, höher zu gehen. Und das machen dann die technischen Designer natürlich direkt, weil je höher die Nase vorne, je besser ist die Anströmung des Autos unten drunter. Überholen ist halt dieses Jahr ein bisschen präziser jetzt von der Wortwahl im Reglement. Man darf nicht Richtung wechseln nach dem Überholen, ja, und das ist halt besser so. Ist besser für die Sicherheit. Und so ist es auch für alle Wächter genau klar, was ist erlaubt, was ist nicht erlaubt. So there's a new regulation, especially also on the front. The nose can't be higher than 55 centimeters for safety reasons, so we don't launch over another car when we do an impact on the front. And the thing is then that a bit further back, it's allowed to build the car a bit higher. And of course the designers use that straight away because it's better for aerodynamics under the car to have the nose higher. That's why it's a bit of a not so good looking shape at the front, but that's the way it is, and it's the fastest way to build the car. Yeah, it's been made more specific, yeah, that now once you're overtaking, you're not allowed to change sides twice. It's always been like that, but now it's more clear in the rules. So for all the people that are making sure that everybody's behaving properly, they can know exactly when someone has done wrong, and they can penalize them immediately. This year there are several major changes to last year. One of them especially is the front part here. This area is not allowed to be any higher than 55 centimeters from the ground due to safety reasons, because if I impact with a car in front, that really reduces the risk of catapulting over him. Then, however, as soon as you get to this part, it's allowed to build the car a little bit higher. And so straight away the designers have used that possibility, because it makes the space under the car here much more large to be able to increase the airflow, and that's just better aerodynamically. So unfortunately it doesn't look great, but that's the fastest way to build the car. Then going a little bit further back, One important difference is also the wheelbase. We have a much longer car this year, and that's also opened up new aerodynamic possibilities because it's just there's a longer space to work with the airflow and everything. So that's a whole different ballgame. Finally, a very, very important change is that we're not allowed to use the exhaust gases to blow into the diffuser, because last year that made a lot of downforce on the rear end, especially in slow speed corners. So we had incredible traction out of the corners. They've taken that possibility away. We now have to put the exhaust much further forward on the car, and that's going to make it much more difficult to drive also this year, because on traction there's a little bit less grip and you need to control it better, and that makes it very tough also on tire wear. You know, we have to be very, very cautious on traction, so it's going to be quite exciting.